Hey everybody, welcome back to episode number 3 of Behind the Build. I'm sitting here with my co-host Robert McMillan Jr. and today we're going to be talking about design and why design is so important. So to kind of start and break this down, what is our design? What is it comprised of?
So a simple answer, I guess, is it's a roadmap from where you are or what your house is today to where your house is going to be. It's like anything. If you're taking a trip, you kind of plan out your trip, how you're going to get there. A design allows us to plan out how we're going to get to the finished product. It allows us to show you the finished product, and then we go through kind of step by step what it's going to take to get there.
Gotcha. So it's not just a pretty picture, right?
It's not just a pretty picture. A pretty picture's a large portion, not a large portion of it, but a pretty picture's a part of it, and that pretty picture is to help explain to you, the customer, what we are saying we're going to build. Mm-hmm. This is what it's going to look like in the end. A lot of times it's really hard to take just a 2D layout floor plan and say, okay, you've got cabinets that run around here. They're going to look like this, and here's a price for that. The design and the design software that we have allows us to do rendering, some other things, so it helps us communicate what our intent is, what we're planning on doing, and further describe the project that we're pricing out. So from a customer side, yes, the picture's important. From our side, though, it really helps us think through the project and build out the project. It allows us to show what walls are existing, what walls are going to come out, where we've got load-bearing walls, what type of framing we have, what type of siding, what type of wallboard we're going to use, what flooring we're going to use, where those transitions are going to be, how we're going to set up our dust containment. We're working in this part of the house. We got to set up over here. It just allows us to go through the entire process and build your project out on paper before we start in your house and flush out all the ideas and make sure we've got everything ready to go.
Right. And so the pictures, the renderings are more of the destination for
Correct.
The roadmap.
Yep.
And so you kind of see where the project's going and where it's leading to. How does our design work in the sense of like construction notes? We have separate phases for each basic part of the job where we essentially build out the job, right?
Yeah. So just for general purposes, we do a lot of remodeling. So we'll have, kind of starting off, you'll have the rendering, that pretty picture. This is the destination. This is where we're heading. Then we'll have a floor plan showing that rendering on the floor plan. And then we'll have an as-built, which is existing conditions. A lot of times we'll do an overlay with the existing conditions with the new plan overlaid on it to help you get a good grasp of where we're talking about, what walls are going to move, what walls are going to stay, and where things are going to be relocated. So we'll have our layout, then we'll have elevations, and then once we get through kind of the elevations of the different areas that need to have an elevation, framing plans, structural plans, then move into your MEPs, so all your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and show all of those along with selections kind of throughout.
Right. And so when we're looking at building out the project, as far as, let's take, for example, a kitchen, what selections might we be looking at for a kitchen?
Quite a few. So just basic, starting off, and this is just a handful. So every kitchen's going to have cabinets. So cabinets, are we going to go factory cabinet or are we going to go custom cabinet? All right, we've decided we're going to go custom cabinet. Are we going to go overlay? Are we going to do a full overlay? Or are we going to do an inset cabinet? All right, so we decided we're going to do a custom cabinet, inset, or we're going to do drawer stacks. Where are those drawer stacks going to be? We're going to do doors. Where are those doors going to be? Do we have upper cabinets? Do we have shelving? Do we have full height pantries? What appliances are we putting in there? Where are those going to be located? how much room do we have, which way are the doors going to swing, what type of hinges are we going to use. And this is all just kind of practical stuff. And then you get into what are the door styles, what type of paneling. Is it going to be a shaker style flat panel, square edge? Are we going to add a trim profile to that? Are we going to have, and really once you get into door styles, you can just infinity and options. So you can do whatever you want. And beyond that, color selection. What type are we going to do? Paint? Are we going to do stain? Then obviously colors. You've got a lot of different colors that you can select from. Stains, same thing. What type of wood are we going to use? And the list just goes on and on and on. And we haven't even gotten away from cabinets, and I think we just went over 50 selections probably.
Right. Yeah.
And then multiply that out. I mean, there's thousands of selections that have to be made in one kitchen.
Right. And so why is it important to have those selections up front and in the beginning before you even start?
The reason to have those selections up front before we start is basically to help us speed up the construction process and to give accurate pricing. So, back to all of those, the determining the cabinets that we're going to use, it drives the price. Whether we're going to do stained cabinets or painted cabinets, that affects the price. The style of cabinet affects the price. The drawers affects the price. The slides that we're going to use affect it. So all of these decisions affect the price. So if we don't make these decisions up front, we're just making a guess. We're making assumptions that this is what we're going to do. And then we may actually get started, and that's not what we assumed that we were going to do. And so we wind up with change orders. Mm-hmm. And it's either the change orders for the good or the bad. It's a change order because we didn't price that and it's going to cost more, or we assumed something that was more expensive and we can save some money. But to make those selections up front, so A, we can get accurate pricing, and then B, so that we can speed up the job so we don't come into your house, set up our dust control, move in with you for 3 months, and then we tear out the walls and we say, oh yeah, we need those selections and our cabinet guys, 6 months before he can start. Mm-hmm. We don't want that scenario to happen. We want to be able to start the project and, demo, move into, framing, the framing changes that we need, then move into our MEPs where we're doing our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, insulation, drywall, cabinetry, and then start all the finishes. So the planning up front helps speed up the process and eliminates a lot of the downtime that you run into with remodeling.
Right. And two, with the efficiency of the job, it's so important and critical to speed up a remodel as much as you possibly can. With some of the stuff you can't really control, but when you're looking at not being able to use your kitchen for 2 months, 3 months, and then if you don't have your selections, and it drags on, that's problematic.
It is. Most people are like, oh, I'll be fine without a kitchen. It sounds fun. We'll eat out. I'm tired of cooking.
Right.
Eat out for a month straight, and you're like, okay, I'm ready for a kitchen. Not having it, just the simple things. I mean, typically with a remodel, we move the refrigerator into a space that's easy for you to access and some other things. But it's it puts you out, so it's an inconvenience to the customer. So the faster we can make the project move, the better for us. It's better for us. It's better for the customer. And then one other kind of big thing is it's the decision making. So if we make all these decisions up front, it helps us or gives you the customer or gives the customer time to make the appropriate decision. It gives them time to make selections versus, oh yeah, we're stopped until you make this decision. I need you to run to wherever and make a selection so that we can get this roughed in today. Mm-hmm. Or it's going to be 2 weeks before my plumber can show back up, and so we're just waiting. Right. So making those selections and not having to get in a hurry, not putting that undue pressure on the customer, it's really important. It makes everything run smoother.
Right. And two, I mean, even just thinking about appliances, if you want a gas range and you're hooked up for electric, and we don't know that until the end. Well, we just had our plumber out there to rough in for your new sink and dishwasher and all that, but didn't know about the gas range.
Yeah.
and then that can set you back for several weeks.
Several weeks. It's pricing. I mean,
Mhm.
the plumber's
Yeah.
got to make another trip, but you've
Yep.
got material costs. They're not set up for it. There's plenty of instances where, it's not feasible to get gas to that
Right.
location. If we're working over a finished basement and there's no gas in the area, that change order in itself could just change the whole job.
Mhm.
Where, if you're having to go and tear out drywall through the entire basement to get back to a gas main, makes a difference.
Right. And that again takes
Takes planning.
Takes planning, and it destroys efficiency.
Yes.
And anything that can be created there, so we can get in and out of your space as quickly as we possibly can, with still creating and building a quality job.
The other benefit of having a plan. So say you come to us and we do a design agreement, we work through a plan, we flesh it out, we give you a price. I'm not ready to do this project yet, or I think it's too expensive, or whatever it is, or whatever happens. You then have a roadmap that you can take to somebody else, and at least you're getting apples to apples, or close to apples to apples. I mean,
Right.
it may be red apples and green apples, but at least you're apples. So the design process helps you flush through the contractors as well. We've talked about this before, where you have 3 or 4 different contractors come through your house. I mean, there's a job that we looked at not too long ago where the customer asked for a certain thing. We took it one way and priced it. They're building something else, and I drove by, and it is not even close to what we were thinking. Not even in the ballpark. So those little items, it's like, this is why the design's so important, so that we can convey what our thoughts are, what we interpreted you saying you wanted, so that you actually get a good project at a fair price.
Right. And that's, I mean, to spend a little bit of time up front. I mean, I know, and we've talked about this before, when clients make a decision to remodel a kitchen, it's a big step, because more than likely you've been thinking about it for months, years. When you moved into the house 15 years ago, you thought, I'm going to remodel this kitchen, and finally you made that leap to say, yes, I'm going to start calling contractors. And it's somewhat, it could be frustrating to a client to say, hang on, we're going to need to plan this thing out, but you need to. It's so important, because like you said, it's, driving by again, and, what is that? That's nothing what we priced.
Yeah. It's not even like, and again, that one we didn't price. We
Right.
tried to get to the design agreement, but it just goes to show what I took away from the job
Right.
was completely different than what some other contractor took away from the job. And I'm assuming their price was much different than ours. But you're taking that extra moment, or 2 months. So you've been thinking about this project for 2 years. Finally ready to do it. I want to do it. Let's get started. The first contractor you go to and that says I can start tomorrow is probably not a good thing. If most contractors that are good are going to have some sort of backlog. They should.
They should.
They should be running a business where they actually have a backlog, and can't just start something tomorrow, unless they're just massive. And I don't know how that's possible. But the bigger point is to just, even if you're excited and you want to do this, it's like, hey, let's just back up for 2 seconds. Let's take 2 more months. Let's make a very small investment. Let's plan this project out, and let's make sure we know what we're getting, and go through the proper steps. Or you jump into it, you get halfway into it, you either find out you don't like the contractor, y'all weren't on the same page, it's costing way more than what you thought it was going to. You had an idea, they had an idea, and you've got your house torn apart.
To the point of the design, though, for a client who's wanting, say, a kitchen remodel, and you go to different contractors, it's not like purchasing a product, right? Where, you want to buy an iPhone. You know what iPhone you're going to get before you buy it.
Right.
So, or you go to buy a car, you know exactly what car you're going to get. You know what model, make, year, what features you're going to put into it before you buy it. But for a kitchen remodel, for a service that we provide, you're purchasing the fact that we can do this for you, and not necessarily an end product right then and there where you say, I want a kitchen remodel, and then, we turn around and snap our fingers and it's there. And so you have to have the roadmap. You have to have the design there to know what you're getting, and you know what you're getting yourself into. And so we can accurately price it for you. You can take that design to other contractors and get prices as well. Just like you said, getting apples to apples, it might be red apples and green apples, but again, apples to apples, because it should be the same scope of work, the same ideas, the same selections as well.
It is. It's you're buying a service from us with the hopes that we can produce your hopes and dreams of your, say it's your kitchen, your ideal kitchen, your dream kitchen, whatever it is. But yes, it's not something that you can go to the store, you can put it in a bag, you can take home, and you have it. It's a process. It's an inconvenient process. Hopefully it's a fun process. We try to, take the time to set up the proper, mitigation techniques where, we're setting up dust control, we're doing floor protection, we're putting in HEPA air scrubbers, we're putting filters over your returns, or disconnecting those returns that are in the working area that we're in to mitigate the, damage outside of our work area. But it's a big investment. And so that investment should take some time, and it should come with a plan. I mean, you wouldn't just go out and say, I want to build a house and have zero information on what the house is going to look like, except for a piece of paper that says, I will build you this house for X amount of dollars, and it's going to have a toilet, a sink, a kitchen, and 3 bathrooms. I mean, that would when you put it that plainly, though, I mean, that sounds stupid. And it's the same thing with construction. And residential construction is just, it's slow. It hasn't evolved. And so trying to push people to these design agreements so that we can spend the time accurately to design your project and price it. Otherwise it's just a guess if we're not spending that time. So any contractor that comes into the house and says, this kitchen is going to cost you X, Y, and Z, without any type of plan, it's either a educated guess, off the cuff guess. They may be going back and running some square foot numbers, some linear foot numbers, and some other things, and taking things into account. We've done that before too. I mean, we've done construction the other way without the plan, but we're guessing. I mean, it's an educated guess, but it's still a guess. And to a certain extent, there's still some guessing that's involved in remodeling, but we want to limit the guessing. We want to get everything flushed out and make sure that you know what you're getting.
Right. And two, we're not just essentially, when we have subcontractors that work underneath us, we don't want them to just go in there and do what's easiest for them.
Correct.
And so having a plan in place so we know exactly, like for a plumber, you run your lines here and here, and we need access to the shutoff valve here for this specific reason. If he doesn't have that plan, if we don't have that layout for him, he might not do that. He might do it in the easiest way possible, which is to do it, I don't know, behind a finished wall.
Yep.
Which would need to get torn out if you need to access it.
Right. Or it's on the fly. It's like, hey, I could do this. And, you're in that moment when it's like, oh, yeah, well, that would make sense. And then they do it, and you think about it, and you're like, no, the reason we were going to move it over here is because of X, Y, and Z. Right. And if you don't have those plans and he doesn't have those plans, they make those suggestions, but they can't see the full picture. So it helps our customers, and it helps our subcontractors. It helps our superintendents. It helps our tradesmen. I mean, everybody who works on the job, it helps everybody to have that full plan and to have that vision of, this is what we're doing. This is the end goal. So everybody has that same picture to drive towards. And they all have that same goal in mind versus the plumber who's like, yeah, it's another kitchen. I'm just putting a pipe here and whatever. It's why does it matter that it's, not center? Well, this particular kitchen, whatever reason, is, open underneath the sink, and those pipes are going to be exposed. So it's extremely important that they're dead center and straight.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't have that initial drawing, and all he has is plumbing goes here on the floor, he has no clue. So.
Right. And typically with houses that are built the way that it's just, okay, you just have a project manager that says, hey, HVAC guy, come out here and install HVAC. Hey, plumber, come out here and install plumbing. Hey, electrician, we need you to come out here and wire this house. They're all going to do what's easiest for them.
Yes.
For the most part. If they don't have plans, it's like, okay, each bedroom gets a switch. Each bedroom gets 3 outlets. We need the bathrooms plumbed up for a toilet, sink. All of that's going to be very basic. It can lead to confusion between all of them of where they're going to be putting things. Specifically, a homeowner might not know exactly where they're going to have outlets. They might have one near the bedroom or this specific height in the bathroom, but they're just going in there and, oh, this is going to be easy for me to just wire this thing up like I normally would.
Yeah. So easy, and this is what we always do.
Right.
And a lot of times what we always do is not what we're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of times there's different scenarios, or, the guys get out of sync, and, say for some reason that maybe an electrician or an HVAC guy has to start before the plumber, and he doesn't know that his plumbing stack's got to go through this area, or the plumber doesn't know that the HVAC was planning on putting their return in this section, and then it causes a conflict with them, and so you're backtracking and tearing out, and you're trying to retrofit, and again, those are just they eat up a lot of time, they eat up a lot of money, and they just cause problems.
Right. Not efficient.
Not efficient.
Which we're going for. So we kind of briefly touched on kitchen selections, and there are a myriad of. How do you like that word?
Good word. Myriad.
I don't even know if I used it right. But there are a lot of selections that go into a kitchen, and with that, your phone's ringing.
Is that mine?
Yeah. Pause for station identification.
Okay.
It's after 5 o'clock. But
yeah, I gotta go pick up some kids in a minute.
Gotcha. Where was I going with that? What was I talking about?
Back to selections and kitchens.
Yeah. So back to selections. We briefly talked about the kitchen and how many selections go into that. What else could we look at that would possibly take into account, like, just let's take a door for example. What are we looking at selection wise there? Because it's just a door, right?
Oh yeah, it's just a door. And so we'll take a simple door. So we'll take a interior door.
Yep.
So just basics. Which way is the door going to swing? Is it going to swing to the left? Is it going to swing to the right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to swing into the bedroom? Out of the bedroom? Is it going to have glass? Is it going to have panels? Is it going to have 6 panels? Is it going to have 1 panel, 2 panels? Is it going to have a radius top? Are we doing a solid wood door? Are we doing a stained door? We're doing hollow core doors. What color hinges are we going to use? What size hinges are we going to use? What type of hardware are we putting on the door? There's just, again, there's a million decisions to be made in one simple, object. And, some of the more crucial things is knowing which way the door swings and knowing where the electrical's going to be. I mean, there's nothing worse than going into a house and swinging a door open and you have to walk around the door to flip on the light switch. It's poor planning.
Right.
I mean, should be able to be caught, but those type things happen, and it's better to flush them out up front.
Right. And when we're looking at specific, when homeowners come to us and want a specific look, like they share something on Pinterest or magazines or whatever they've been looking at, we want to make sure we fulfill that.
Yes.
And so we're not going to just, we have to flesh it out in the design. We have to go ahead and make those selections. And so you don't get priced a 6-panel hollow core door, but you wanted a 5-panel stacked shaker, full wood with, $250 hinges or $250 handle to go on it. Because it's a huge price swing.
Yeah, it is a big price swing.
Yeah. And so you want to flesh all those out up front, and so you can make that decision on if you truly want that door. If you want it, then let's do it. Let's put it in the design. Let's go forward with it. But then you can also look at that and go, okay, let's see what would my next option be. And so you can start effectively using the design to make better decisions for what you want your new space to be. And so, but that's a lot of things to go through. And you just listed out probably 50 things.
I don't know if it was quite 50, but it was at least
it could be.
it was at least 20 options just quickly without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that's in one door, and that's typically what happens in a remodel, and that's almost the same comment I get from everybody is I didn't realize how many decisions were going to have to be made.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing something that's custom and you have to say, yes, I want that, no, I don't want that, it gets overwhelming. And if you're doing that in the spur of the moment, you can be making bad decisions. You can be making decisions because somebody said, hey, I think this would look good. And you're like, okay, that'd be great. Sounds great. And you have no clue what you're actually getting.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just don't have the time to think about it. Yeah, that sounds good. And then put it in and you hate it. So, going through all those steps, deciding what type of doors we're going to use, whether, what materials we're going to use for the doors, and at least taking that opportunity to explain those things, helps clarify what we're doing on the job, and it affects the price point again. So, they go hand in hand. The design and the price, they truly are, one drives the other.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things that don't change a whole lot, but for the most part, small changes in the design can have huge impacts in the price, just due to the construction and the way that things are put together.
Right. Well, I think we drove this point home.
Yep.
On design. I think we hit our time allotment. I think we're good.
We're 30 minutes at least.
30 minutes at least.
All
right. So that's going to do it for episode number 3 of Behind the Build, where we talked about our design and the process that goes behind that. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yep.
We're going to be posting this to our YouTube. If you haven't already watched all of the videos yet already,
follow us on
Instagram. And we should have our Instagram thing across the bottom of the screen here. Yes. It looks great. Looks sure. All right. We'll see you guys on the next episode.